That's case number 212 on the calendar in the matter of Kavanaugh versus Klein.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Kavanaugh, the defendant and your son were in a long-term relationship, although I don't see here that they were ever married. Is that
No.
true? Not married?
No, we weren't.
But you have 3 children together?
Yes, we do.
So how long did this relationship last?
Lasted 16 years.
Just for my own curiosity, is there any reason why you chose not to marry?
I don't really believe in marriage. I'm too afraid to get married. Divorce is too expensive.
Your claim is that Ms. Klein has some property that belongs to you.
Yes, she does.
In her home.
Yes.
After, of course, your son left. You want it back. And you also claim that Ms. Klein made false charges to the Child Protective Services Agency about you,
Yes.
causing you severe distress. Ms. Klein says she did not make those calls to Child Protective Services. She knows who did.
Yeah.
She says her girls did.
My girls did, and also Cassie and Christy, who are her witnesses.
And
they did it at their house.
And she said they found things that were troublesome to them. As far as the property is concerned, she says the property is hers. The property we're talking about is a pool table, is that right?
No, it's a poker
table.
card table or coffee table.
Okay. According to what you said, Ms. Kavanaugh, in your complaint, you gave this poker table, this table, to your son as a gift.
I lent it to him.
No, that's not what you said. You said you gave it to your son as a gift. You want me to read you what you wrote?
No, that's fine.
I know that you dispute that. I had given my son a custom-built poker table for his birthday.
Correct.
So let's deal with the poker table because that makes my life very easy. You have no interest whatsoever in the poker table.
Okay.
Got it? Once you give a gift, the gift is gone. And I don't see your son here. If he wants the poker table back, and if it's his, it's certainly not marital property because these people weren't married. So if he wants the poker table back, he can have it. But you can't because it doesn't belong to you. It would be like birds suing for the poker table. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get to the allegations of abuse and or neglect that were made to Child Protective Services. When did your son and the defendant separate?
February, she threw him out.
Were you working during the 16 years you lived together?
Yes, I was. I was basically the only one working in the relationship.
What were you doing?
I managed 2 bowling centers.
And who took care of the children?
Anthony usually did, and Dorothy.
What kind of work does Anthony do?
He worked on cars on the side.
No steady job?
No.
Why doesn't your son have a steady job?
He did have a steady job. He worked at the garage. It was in his name. He did have a steady job. He had his own garage at 25.
You mean for the 16 years that they lived together?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he file tax returns on that?
No, he did not.
Well, if he had his own business and if he was making money, then that's a very serious crime that he committed by not filing tax returns for 16 years. Here he's got his mother swearing under oath that he had his own business.
He did on the side. He did on the side, yes.
What do you mean on the side? On the side is something that you do when you have a full-time job elsewhere.
True.
Ms. Kavanaugh.
True.
On the side is not what you do when you have 3 children.
That's true. I agree with that.
Where is he?
He's working right now.
Doing what?
He works for Twin City Transmission.
What happened to his garage?
It was closed down after Stephanie and him got into trouble and separated.
Due to his alcohol and drug problem, he's on probation right now, and that's why he had to leave the home, because I did not want that around my kids. It took me a long time, but I was a victim of domestic violence until I got strong enough to do it on my own.
Fine. Well, he's certainly not here supporting his mother.
Or his children.
What makes you think that the defendant called Child Protective Services?
Because of the paperwork that I have and the statements that they made.
I'd like to see it.
Oh, okay.
No, don't give me all this paperwork, Ms. Kavanaugh. I want you to show me where in this paperwork it says that a call was made to this Child Protective Services by Ms. Klein.
Oh, they don't do that.
Well, so what I want you to tell me is you direct my attention to somewhere in this stack of papers to evidence that Ms. Klein called Child Protective Services.
Then it would have to come from my witness who told me that.
Fine. Who's the witness? That would be you. Stand up. Who are you?
Christy.
How are you related to these people?
That's my grandma.
But that's not your mother, so you have different parents?
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you live, Christy?
Down the street from her.
Down the street from your grandmother. Who do you live with?
My mom.
Tell me what you know about Ms. Klein calling Child Protective Services.
Her oldest daughter did.
Well, her oldest daughter is not her. Christy, listen to me very carefully. Do you know anything about Ms. Klein calling Child Protective Services?
No.
Sit down. Do you have any other witnesses, Ms. Kavanaugh?
I have Cassandra.
Be very careful if you're going to stand up here. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Stand up. Do you have any evidence that Ms. Klein called Child Protective Services?
No, ma'am.
That was being good and careful. Yes, Ms. Kavanaugh.
Okay, there's also a countersuit from Stephanie that I called.
I haven't gotten to the countersuit yet.
Okay. Well,
do you have any other evidence that Ms. Klein called Child Protective Services about your care of your children or grandchildren?
Other than the piece of paper here that states that they investigated both her and I, which is
that's why I called it myself.
My name, Stephanie, and all 3 children.
So the answer is you have no, listen to me, so the answer is you have no evidence that it was Ms. Klein who called Child Protective Services.
No, I cannot prove it was
So
her.
your case is dismissed in its entirety. The poker table doesn't belong to you, and you have no proof whatsoever that Ms. Klein called Child Protective Services, so I don't even have to get into the fact that if she called them, whether what she said was true. Now I'll get to the counterclaim.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And when people use that child protective hotline for other reasons, it infuriates me. And if it was my world, they'd be in jail.
And later today,
If you happen to be built like you are, you have to use your strength and your girth wisely, sir. Not like an idiot.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dorothy Kavanaugh says her son's ex-girlfriend, Stephanie Klein, made false charges to Child Protective Services. Stephanie is countersuing, claiming Dorothy's actions caused her to be fired.
Your counterclaim is that Ms. Kavanaugh called Child Protective Services with regard to you, your care of the children, and because of her harassment, you lost your job. I'd like to hear it.
I can't prove that she called, but
Then if you can't prove that she called, then you have no case.
I'm not positive that she called. Kids were visited because of it, in which they stated that Dorothy.
You can't tell me what they stated? Not necessary. I don't have to reach that threshold
Okay.
question because neither of you has any proof that the other was responsible for calling Child Protective Services.
That's part of
Let
my
me deal
case.
with Child Protective Services, these calls back and forth, whomever they came from. Calling Child Protective Services is like calling 911. You call 911 when there is some emergency, when you feel as if somebody is being threatened, when you feel as if somebody is being placed at risk. And I'm not saying that those things weren't the case with these allegations that were made by whomever they were made. But it should be a felony in every jurisdiction, a very serious crime, for people to use calls to Child Protective Services in order to either incite or resolve or for retaliation or for retribution about some other issue because they have limited enough resources at Child Protective Services to investigate real allegations of neglect and abuse. And when people use that Child Protective hotline for other reasons, it infuriates me. And if it was my world, they'd be in jail if that's what they're using the hotline for. Having said that, we will move on to the next cause of action in your counterclaim, which is that Ms. Kavanaugh caused you to lose your job.
Yes, I had her as a sitter, also her son, who would drop the kids off to her even after I asked not to. She would get upset with them, drop them off at my work several times. She would drop them off at home unsupervised. She'd have them sitting on the porch in the middle of winter. She once set Jordan on the porch in the middle of winter with just a towel on because she didn't want to shower with her 10-year-old grandson, and she was 11 going through puberty at the time, which is disgusting.
Ms. Klein, listen to me. If what you're telling me is that because she wasn't a good babysitter, that caused you lots of stress,
Yes.
put your hand down, and you ultimately didn't show up for work and you caused you to lose your job, you have options. Your option is get rid of her as a babysitter.
I undid, and
Then you can't sue her.
and got
that's your
Christy.
option.
Well, she called my work, harassing my boss, calling the cops on him. I got the
Well,
letter
just
for
one
that.
second. Is your boss here?
No, but I have a letter stated to me why I was fired and
I'd like to see the letter.
complaint from the Tonawanda Police Department.
I'd just like to see the letter first. Okay. Can I see the report to the police department? Did you at any time have her son arrested for anything? She says yes.
He used to
For what?
Harassment.
Well, he probably was harassing her because he's a drug addict. That's what she says. Is that true? Put your hand down. Is that true?
Not anymore, Henry.
I don't care if he's not anymore. You mean not today?
Not today, but she also is.
Listen, who's taking care of the 3 children? Who's taking care of the 3 children?
At the moment,
Yes.
a girl who had their children taken away from them, so I
Who do
heard.
the 3 children live with? I'm not talking about at this
Oh,
moment.
they live
while
with
she's
the mother.
here. They live with the mother, not with your son.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. So, when did you have him arrested?
Actually, I had him arrested once, a couple times. I had to have him removed from the house because he would come in when we were sleeping. He broke in when we weren't home, slept in my bed when I went away.
These sources are 2006. Anything
Yeah.
happened in 2007 that's been harassment?
No.
Okay.
There was. I was afraid to do it. She's evil and very
What do you want?
vindictive.
We both filed harassment against each other.
Well, I don't know why you should have anything to do with her except positive things with regard to your grandchildren, Ms. Kavanaugh. You
I
have a
took
son
her-
that's problematic.
I took her
You
to
have,
court.
listen to me.
Yes.
Carefully.
Yes.
You have a son who's a problem.
Yes.
You have the mother of your grandchildren who has been supporting the family for 16 years because your son is a bum. There's no question that he's a bum because there's no question that they had to file tax returns because she worked for a company that wouldn't have paid her under the table. That your son, if he was working at all, which I somehow doubt, certainly has not filed tax returns and has not paid his fair share of our expenses as a community.
He was paying child support.
Well, what do you want me to do? Give him a gold medal for that? He made children. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yes.
Put your hand down. He's supposed to pay child support.
Yes.
A lot. Not a little.
Right.
So if I wanted to be supportive, I would be as supportive as possible if you were a reasonable grandparent of my 3 grandchildren and said to my son, listen, I tried my best with you. Maybe my best wasn't good enough, but I'm certainly not going to annoy the mother of my grandchildren who's trying to keep it together. Do you get my drift?
She wasn't
That's
trying to keep it together.
Do you get my drift?
I understand you, yes.
Perfect. And I wouldn't sue her for a stupid card table because that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Goodbye. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim.
Parties are excused. You may step out, ma'am.
Because she's a wacko.
Just to hurt me even worse.
Drew drinking and drugs?
I wouldn't be able to afford my mortgage or my house
Both her and my son were the same.
if I was doing drugs, nor will I be able to care for 3 children.
That the mother gets treatment for her drinking.
She does that with any one of her kids that separate from their girlfriends.
Well, I would imagine eventually somebody will catch up with her and take those children away from her.
That's what she does. She has nothing better to do than sit on her butt, smoke cigarettes, and make everyone's life a living.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bolin versus Juarez. Step forward.
26-year-old Christopher Bolin is suing fellow partygoer, 18-year-old Michael Juarez, for denting his car during a fight. Michael claims the damage is not his fault.
Mr. Bolin, it is your claim that Mr. Juarez, during an argument at a party, threw someone into your car and damaged it. And Mr. Juarez says he didn't do that.
Yes.
When was the party?
May 29th.
Questions are going to get harder, Mr. Bolin.
No, sorry.
Who, what, when, where, and how? Those are the questions you should always come prepared to answer.
All right.
All right? What date was the party?
May 29th of 07.
Who was there?
There was a lot of people there.
In whose house was the party being held?
It was at a friend's house down the way from my house. I don't even know the person, actually.
Who knows the person?
I know his name is Ryan.
Who did you have a fight with?
I had a fight with him right there. I don't know his name.
With you? With Richard?
Yes.
What'd you have a fight with Richard about?
Because at the end of the party, my phone was missing, and I was trying to look for it, and I went around asking everybody. When I went to go ask him, we had a confrontation, and then we started fighting. It was a quick, 2-minute fight. It didn't last so long.
Why did you fight with him?
Because we started arguing, because I wanted to see if he had my phone. And we started arguing, and...
No, explain that to me. Mr. Juarez, your phone was missing. You asked to see his phone. And what did he say?
He said no.
Yeah?
No, that's not right.
Just a second.
He said no for a minute, and then he finally showed it, and it was dark. It looked like my phone. I wanted to see it. He wouldn't let me see it. And he said, and we started getting into it.
What do you mean you started to get into it? You started to get into it.
Yeah, I
You
started
accused
getting
him
into
of stealing your phone.
Yeah, because I was missing my phone.
I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
Did it turn out that he stole your phone?
No.
Where was your phone?
In the car.
So you made a mistake?
Yes, I did.
So you had this fight over something stupid where you made a mistake. And you started to act physical with somebody who says, don't accuse me of being a thief. Isn't that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, tell me about throwing somebody into a car.
I pushed him.
And he fell into a car.
Yes.
So whose fault is that? Mine?
No.
Whose fault is it?
All right.
Whose fault is it?
I just pushed him. I didn't mean to see him go in the car.
Is there something wrong with you? Who is this person here?
That's my mom and my aunt.
You don't want to embarrass yourself any further in front of your mother.
No.
Whose fault is it if you pushed him and he fell into his car?
I pushed him. I didn't mean for him to fall in the car.
Your Honor, he didn't actually...
Do I look as if I need any of your help?
No, I'm sorry.
You want to have a talk with him. Is your last name Juarez?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds or less to talk to your son. Right up there.
It's your phone.
Now your mother's going to sit down.
Yes.
Whose fault is it, do you think, that his car got damaged?
I pushed the man, but I don't think it's my fault because how big I am and how big he is, it'll take a lot of force for him to make a dent in the car. And if it made a dent, it would have gave injury to the man. And I'll be right here getting sued by him. That's why I feel
Whatever
it's
it was, it didn't work, Mrs. Juarez. Could I please see the pictures of your car?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
18.
What do you do?
I'm a student, AVC.
Stay there. Perhaps forever. Go for continuing education. You have an estimate?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the estimate?
From Scorty's Auto Collision.
What is the
Oh,
estimate?
for
Not from
$995.
whom? Who, what, when?
Sorry,
where?
$995.
Mr. Juarez, you did the wrong thing. You made a mistake. You accused somebody of being a thief. When they chose not to play along with you, you started an argument. Your argument resulted in this young man's car being damaged by you. Because when you pushed him, the natural consequence of your pushing him was him falling into the car. Now, you didn't intend to damage the car. You intended to damage him. Unfortunately, the car got damaged. You're just lucky he didn't get damaged as well, because then I would have wiped up the floor with you. And so would the police department. If you happen to be built like you are, you have to use your strength and your girth wisely, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Not like an idiot.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $995. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, case number 263 on the calendar in the matter of Tarras versus Johnson.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Tarras, this is your former daughter-in-law. She was
Yes.
married to your son for a very short time, and it is your claim that she owes you some money. She owes you money for airline tickets that you claim you bought with money that was a loan to her to bring her family to see you over a Christmas holiday. You claim she owes you for some wedding expenses that you paid for, and you expected her to pay you back. And you claim that she owes you for one final thing, and that is for some family heirlooms that you gave to her in anticipation of her being your daughter-in-law for a very long time.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson says that these were all gifts. She never intended to pay you back. There was never any discussion of paying you back for the items that you purchased for her. And you're just angry that she divorced your son and married somebody else. You did remarry.
Yes.
Okay. When were you married to, I assume, this gentleman? This is your son?
This is my son. I was legally married to Ethan on January 10th of 07.
And when did you separate from him?
January 25th, I believe, is when he moved out.
Why?
Because he did not want to get a job. He didn't want to pay rent. He didn't want to help with any of the household expenses.
You mean you found this out in 15 days?
Well, he...
Ms. Johnson, you got married in January 10th. January 25th, 15 days later, it was over.
Yes.
Strange. Okay, tell me about the airline tickets, which is what you're complaining about first, Miss Terrace.
The airline tickets to bring Shelley and her daughters for Christmas. I flew them down.
From where?
I flew them from Denver to Las Vegas so they could come and spend Christmas with me.
You have daughters?
Yes.
How many?
2.
So you wanted her to come down and spend Christmas with you?
Yes.
With your son?
Yes.
Okay. So, go ahead.
Shelley had no money for airline tickets, and I was asked if I would purchase them, and I would be paid back.
Who told you that you were going to be paid back?
Shelley?
No, she didn't. That sounds ridiculous, Miss Terrace. You never told you were going to pay her back for the airline tickets?
No, that was an agreement with her son.
Of course not. You wanted your son to come to your house for Christmas. So you said, I'll send you airline tickets. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out, Miss Terrace. Right? Of course. I have children. If I want my children to come and spend Thanksgiving or Christmas with me, and they don't have money, I say, I'll send you the tickets. So, move on. I don't believe you that she said she was going to pay you back. What's next?
Okay. Starting with August 14th, my son discovered that Shelley had remarried on February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Their marriage was not annulled until May.
Okay.
They were still living as man and wife.
Okay. Would you tell me what it is that you claim she owes you money for? I'm not the moral police.
Okay. At that time, I told them that I would help out paying for a formal wedding and a reception to be held on May 26th. At that time, after discovering that Shelley had committed bigamy by marrying a man on Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Just a second. You said they were married January 10th, 2007.
Correct.
And then they were supposed to have a reception in May.
Correct.
But they were no longer living together in May of 07.
That's correct.
And you paid for what?
I paid for all wedding expenses.
And?
And I was told that I would be repaid for this. However, after...
Who told you that?
Shelley. It was an agreement that I would be paid back. And after discovering that Shelley married a man while she was still married to my son, I feel she is not entitled to anything.
Just a second. I know what you feel. When did you plan this wedding and make the payments that you're complaining about? In what
December.
Month? In December. So you made certain outlays of money.
Correct.
Had your son ever been married before?
No.
Had you been married before?
Yes, ma'am.
So you wanted to make a wedding. Where was the wedding supposed to be?
In my hometown.
In your hometown. For your family and friends.
That's...
Because your son was never married before.
That's correct.
So you said, I'll make the wedding. Miss Terrace, we know where it's going, my dear. That's what you do. You didn't expect her to pay for the wedding. She's got 2 children that I assume supporting, that they live with her. She wasn't going to make the wedding. You wanted to make the wedding in Las Vegas, where you live, where your son grew up, where you have family and friends, and you said, I'll pay for the wedding. You put down a deposit on a hall, you put down a deposit on invitations, and whatever you did. The formal marriage didn't work out, and nothing came of the May event because they were already separated for 5 months by the time May rolled around. So, doesn't work out. Would have been no difference if they got married January 10th and you paid for the wedding in January, and that was the formal wedding, and they separated 15 days later. You don't get your money back from her. What do you want?
I'd like to add something, Your Honor.
Go.
I moved out of the apartment on February 20th, 2007. Shelley's second ex-husband, she found out ungratefully, had passed away on December 1st. Shelley was having a very hard time grieving with this. And I can remember multiple times her waking up in the middle of the night telling me how much Chris was a better man than me.
Listen, does this have some relevance to your mother's lawsuit, or you just wanted a cathartic event? What does that have to do? Mr. Terrace, listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand you were hurt. However, you are a very lucky man. Very lucky. Because you were about to take on a responsibility of a woman who's a little nutty. There's no question she's a nut. Because she had 2 girls, and she gave up what appears to be a perfectly reasonable guy with a perfectly reasonable family, and married somebody, according to you, who's in prison.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's nutty. So, finding that out now, before you do something stupid like make a baby with her so that you're tied to her forever, you should go like this and say, thank you very much. If it only cost me a few $1,000s to get rid of this nut, it's a bargain. It's the bargain of the century. Do you understand, Mr. Terrace?
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother should understand that, too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've made more than 5 weddings because we had a couple of doubles in there. I know what it's like. None of my children ever paid me back for weddings. Get over it, Miss Harris. Now move on.
And later today,
This apartment is a pigsty. Don't you clean?
I don't live like a pig, Your Honor.
How did these holes get in the wall?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Terra says her ex-daughter-in-law, Miss Shelley Johnson, owes for airline tickets, wedding expenses, and the return of a family heirloom. Sandra claims Miss Shelley is a bigamist.
Now, I understand you were hurt. You'll find somebody else, uncomplicated, and do yourself a favor. How old are you?
25, ma'am.
25. Pick somebody without baggage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Now sit.
I am, ma'am.
What's next?
Your Honor, due to her committing bigamy.
It's over. She never promised to pay you for the wedding. Move on.
Well, she did.
No, she did not.
Okay.
No, that's a fib. I don't like fibbers. I have 5 children. I've made more than 5 weddings because we had a couple of doubles in there. I know what it's like. None of my children ever paid me back for weddings. Do you understand? Even when the marriage didn't work out. Get over it, Miss Harris. Now move on.
Okay. Well, just the bigamy charges. She marries another man while they're still married. That concerns me.
It may concern you, madam. I'm not a criminal court judge. You want to notify the district attorney that she committed bigamy? Go with good luck. and go with my blessing. Get on to what I'm here about. The last part of your lawsuit, which is items that you claim you gave her, family heirlooms that you want back.
Yes, my mother makes hand-sewn quilts for all the new granddaughters that are marrying her grandsons. My family is requesting that return due to Shelley obviously not having any interest in them since she married a man a month after marrying my son.
Well, you're not entitled to that, Miss Tarras, unless Miss Johnson wants to give it back to you. Do you have that quilt?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Would you like to give it back to Miss Tarras? She would like it back.
I can send it back to her grandmother.
Fine. Perfect. What else?
The diamond necklace that I would like returned.
No, you don't get that back.
Okay. I bought that as a daughter-in-law, but...
Good. She was your daughter-in-law for about 15 days. February, March, and April. I assume that they paid them in May because then they had to put them in their own name. At least
Yes,
you were
exactly.
off the hook. So how much do they owe you for utilities?
Utilities is, I got the receipts right here, $767.69.
Now, you have pictures of the damage to the apartment?
I sure do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
There's several sets of pictures. I also have a list from the repair person and the checks that I did pay a person to repair the $4,000 worth of damages.
How did these holes get in the wall?
That was a prior roommate. Whose
roommate?
Ours. A bad selection of a roommate.
Well, you owe her for this damage.
Yes, I believe we do. We're responsible because...
You are. Your roommate. Go find your roommate.
I'm putting in a small claim right now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That master bedroom, I know it was their bedroom, and right below those holes, it was their mattress. So, yeah, you can see her head. There,
Your
right
Honor,
where he...
that is untrue. She's made a lot of allegations about us, about him doing bad things to hurt me, a lot of why reason why those holes are in our walls.
When was the last time the police were called to any residence where you have ever lived for domestic violence?
Never. Just this once. If she'd called.
Just a second. When in any of your residences were the police called on a complaint of domestic violence?
None that we know of.
She just said once.
Well, we believe that's what she called about.
Yeah,
because they showed up, but nothing was ever done about it because nothing was wrong.
They showed up at the residence because they were looking for him.
This apartment is a pigsty. Don't you clean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we had a roommate that came in while we were at work and damaged a lot of
It's
stuff.
filthy. That doesn't happen from a messy roommate. That happens from people who live like pigs.
I don't live like a pig, Your Honor.
Well, you did. I never saw a place so filthy.
I had to go through my house in 2 days' time, and I had to pretty much tear everything apart that I had and find what was sentimental to me, pack it up, and then start throwing a lot of my things away.
Should have paid your rent.
Your Honor.
You should have paid your rent. That's what happens when you don't pay rent or utilities.
We had agreed to start paying it off. We'd actually started paying it off. And
Listen, she's not your mother.
I know.
She's your landlord. The first thing that you did was you moved into the apartment. You were supposed to put the utilities in your name. You didn't. Then you have a counterclaim that she had no right to turn off the utilities because she got tired of paying $767 for your utilities. Well, then you had no choice, but you put them in your name. At least she's off the hook. I don't know whether you stiffed the utility company or not. I assume you did. Now, then you leave an apartment like a pigsty and you blame it on a roommate. Well, so far it's everybody's fault but yours. Everybody else is wrong. She's wrong.
I'm taking responsibility since it was my roommate. I have to.
I don't necessarily think it was your roommate, sir.
I
don't necessarily think it was your roommate. I don't believe necessarily it was your roommate just because you say it. Do you understand?
Oh, I understand.
Good. I'm glad you do. Okay, so far you owe her $19.17 just for your rent and the utilities.
And that's the detailed list of what was repaired?
Nothing was repaired, Your Honor, except for the holes in the walls because I live right next to that place, and so does my neighbor, and she happens to walk by and she sees our things are still being used. A refrigerator that she said was damaged that we need to pay for to replace is still being used. It was like that before we moved in.
Show them these pictures, please.
The refrigerator was not repaired, and the refrigerator I'm not suing for. I'm just suing for the repairs Mr. Bean did on my rental unit.
Your Honor, I was going through all these items. That's why it looks like a pigsty like this.
Hey, just take a look at the toilet. The toilet isn't going through the items. That toilet hasn't been cleaned, it looks like, in 6 months. You owe $5,000 for your cleanup, for your rent, and for your utilities. Now, give me 30 seconds or less on your counterclaim. Let's go.
We don't believe we owe her because nothing was fixed before we even moved in.
Forget it. Next.
All of our stuff that was in the house, she told us we would have 2 days and we had
Why
nowhere to
didn't
go.
you get your stuff out?
We stayed up all night trying to get our stuff out.
We had 2 days
a house full
time
of
to do
stuff,
it.
So we got
Did you
what
pay
we
rent
could.
in June?
I was giving her a couple hundred every
Did you
week.
pay rent in June?
Not in full, no.
Counterclaim's dismissed. You owe $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Pleasure excused. You may step out. Ramirez versus Flynn. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Ramirez, you and the defendant dated and I gather lived together for a brief period of time. You had one child with you at the time?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she, after an argument, threw you out with your child and kept your property. The defendant says that when you left, you owed her some money, and instead of the money, you said to her, just keep my stuff. I don't want it. Sell it. She's also counterclaiming because she says you assaulted her. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. When did you move in with Miss Flynn, Mr. Ramirez?
She moved in with me about 4 months after we met to my home that I was renting.
In what year was that you moved in together?
This year.
2007.
2005.
When was it?
2005.
And when did you move into the apartment that you left?
We moved in at the end of July of 2006.
And you have one child. How
Yes,
old is
ma'am.
that child?
She's 8.
And you have custody of her?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened when you left, sir.
Well, when she kicked me out, me and my daughter, she just kicked me and my daughter out.
Well, tell me about that day.
Well, we were talking, and I have an invention.
You have an invention?
Yes, ma'am, that me and my brother came up with. And Miss Flynn stated she wanted 10% of something that doesn't exist. And I said, no, how am I going to give you 10% of something I don't even have? So that's where it started, and that upset her, like, just totally upset her. And she said, what? And I said, how am I going to give you 10% of something I don't even have? I can't.
What do you mean you don't even have? You had an invention you just
Well,
told
yes,
me.
ma'am, but it's just in the process now. I haven't.
Well, I assume that what she was saying is that in exchange for whatever financial contribution she was making, were you working at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
You were both working?
Yes.
Well, I assume she was saying that because you live together as a couple, she wanted 10% if anything happens with this invention. And you said, no, I don't think you're entitled to that. So you're entitled to say that to her, Mr. Ramirez. If she wants 10% or 50%, then you got to get married. Then that's what the state does. The state says, well, then property becomes community property or joint property. But you're not married, she's not entitled to anything. So you're absolutely within your rights to say, I don't want to give you 10%. Is that when she threw you out?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
Get out of my house. You and your daughter can get out of my house.
And is that what you did? You left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left your things?
Yes, ma'am.
What things did you leave there?
I have a list of things, numerous things.
They better be big items, sir, because I don't get involved with saucepans and dishes.
That's just some of the things. That's not the personal belongings, like pictures and...
I'm going to cross certain things out here, Mr. Ramirez, that I think are ridiculous. Charbroiled barbecue with 2 propane tanks. Prairie dining. Did you purchase all of these things, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you purchase them while you and the defendant were living together?
No, ma'am, prior.
You had these things?
Everything on that list is prior to our relationship.
Let us take a look at this. Are any of those things that you purchased while you were living together?
Probably some DVDs and CDs.
Other than that, those are all his things, correct?
Yeah.
You have to return them to him, all of them. Do you understand?
Oh, there's no neon picture.
Okay, cross it off.
There is a neon picture, Your Honor.
Cross it off. Okay, good. Inconsequential, all of those things within 5 days, sir. You arranged to have the movers there to pick them up. Is that nice?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, let's get to your counterclaim. You say he owes you money, and he assaulted you. Go.
Actually, the alleged invention that he has is something that my doctor asked him to make, and I actually have a picture of it.
What does that have to do with anything?
That's why I had asked him for 10% of his alleged
entitled
invention.
to ask. So, he's entitled to say no.
My counterclaim is what he owes me when he was not working for October, November, and December.
You were not working October, November, December?
October and November, Your Honor.
And December. Well,
just a second. Were you working in December, sir?
No, ma'am.
So you didn't contribute to the household for those 3 months?
No.
So how much money do you owe her?
I don't feel I owe her anything.
Why not?
That's the way relationships work, Your Honor.
Why? Did she work all the time?
No, she doesn't work.
She doesn't work at all?
No.
How do you support yourself?
I receive disability and Social Security.
What's the nature of your disability?
I have a blood condition that affects my ankles to where I get a lot of blood clots, and I'm in the hospital a lot. I get a lot of infections.
So you were supporting the household and paying the mortgage on your Social Security disability?
And child support.
You have children?
I have one child.
How old?
9. Also,
just a second. Was your arrangement when you moved in that you would pay half the mortgage, sir?
No, ma'am.
What was your arrangement?
Just that we're going to move in together and help each other out as a relationship does.
No. How did you handle the finances, Mr. Ramirez?
Well, I was working prior, and then I just...
When you were working prior, how did you handle the finances?
We just share them.
How did it work? You came home and you all both deposited checks into a joint account?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did it work? I want to know.
I would handle cash and to pay the bills.
How much?
It just depended on how much the bills were at the time.
Mr. Ramirez?
Yes.
How much would you hand her each month?
Maybe $1,200.
Each month?
No, not each month.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, sir. You don't play with me. Mr. Ramirez?
Yes.
You think you're smarter than I am?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Ramirez, you owe her $1,800. What else?
He also owes me for his vehicle insurance from May to January, which I do have invoices for.
Just a second. Why did you pay in May? He was working in May.
Because I had added him to my insurance because he couldn't get it on his own. And with the money that
No, my darling. Listen to me. In May, he was working, so he was giving you money. In May, June, July, August, he was working. He was giving you money.
Not
you
enough.
Who cares? That's something I'm getting involved with. So far, he owes you $1,800, period. Okay. What's next?
So he owes me then $120 for vehicle insurance for October, November, and December, ma'am, when he was not working.
October, November, and December. You had a car?
Yes, ma'am.
She was paying the insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And you weren't paying anything?
And January.
You weren't paying anything?
Not a penny.
Okay. How much a month?
$40 a month.
Okay. So it was 3 months or 4 months?
4.
160. What's next?
The satellite dish was a household bill.
Forget it. You still have the satellite dish, no?
I still have it.
Keep going.
I'm also countersuing for the assault.
Well, let me hear about the assault.
Okay. One night I was just in my house, in my room with my friend.
When?
Approximately the 14th of January.
After he had left?
After he had left. He came back into my house. He still had a key because his stuff was there, so I didn't change the locks. I changed my alarm code. I thought that was good enough. He came in anyhow. I had my room closed. When I opened my bedroom door to see who had come in, he was already right there. And he asked me
what were you doing there?
I went to pack my daughter's things in her room so I can...
Did you call her first?
No.
Why not?
I have a key.
You have no right to do that. You're not a tenant there. You hadn't paid rent. You have no right to go
Yes.
in.
When I received my first check, after I got my job, I handed her my first check.
No.
What date?
You didn't.
What date?
Like January, first week of February.
You mean after you moved out, you handed her a check?
No, Your Honor.
Baloney, Mr. Ramirez. Baloney. You had no right being there. None. So what happened?
He said, "Who's in there?" And I told him, "None of your business." He pushed the door open like this, and the door hit me in my face because I was on the other side of the door. I proceeded to push the door and tell him that he wasn't going to come in, that it was none of his business. And with his strength, he pushed me into a dresser that I had by the door, which bruised my arm.
Why did you do that, sir?
I have pictures of my lip where the door busted my lip.
Can I see it, please?
And my witness was in my room. When he saw that it was just my friend Diana, he left. I told him I was calling the police. I had the police on the phone, and
Temper,
I
Mr.
also
Ramirez.
have a statement from
Temper, Mr. Ramirez. Ever been arrested?
Yes.
Domestic violence?
Yes.
What do you have to say for yourself, sir? There's no question in my mind that you entered the house, that was a trespass, and if you assaulted her, that rises to the level of burglary. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, I want you to tell me, did you lose your temper?
No, Your Honor.
Well, tell me what you did. There's no question that you hurt her.
I entered the room, the house, and intent to gather my daughter's things from her room and some of my belongings. And then she came out. She said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "Get in my house." I handed her the key, and I left.
No.
Didn't push the door open?
No, Your Honor.
Didn't push the door?
No.
Didn't cut her lip?
No.
You have a police report?
No, ma'am, I didn't let the police come. So, but he was not there to get his daughter things. He called me later after he left and said, "Why did you do that?" "I just wanted to sit down and hang out with you and talk. I thought we could talk." And I said, "Why would you think that?"
He doesn't think that you're allowed to say no.
I am saying no.
Yes,
And,
I think maybe he gets that now. Want to step up? Tell me your last name.
Kalish.
Ms. Kalish, you were there on the evening that Mr. Ramirez came into the house?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We were in her room just watching TV, and we heard the front door open. She got up to see who entered the house, and before she got to the door, he was already standing there. She opened the door, and he pushed the door open and pushed her.
Did you say anything about calling the police?
She did call the police. I was there. She called the police, telling them that he had came in the house without permission, but the police didn't show up.
They never showed up?
Well, she didn't want them to come over.
Why?
The calls can take an hour to 2 or 3 hours, and I didn't want to waste their time. He was already gone. I felt safe in the house, and I knew that I could just call back.
Why is this picture dated February 9th?
Because that's when I printed the picture, and my digital camera, once I changed the batteries, the date doesn't set. So I have a digital camera. I have the camera with me. I didn't print
Did you
the
seek
photos.
any medical treatment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You owe her $1,960. Do you understand? And you can go pick up your stuff within 5 days, the stuff that's on this list. Don't go back and bother her anymore. She doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Do you understand?
It's mutual.
It's finished. Over. Got it?
Mutual.
Thank you. That's all.
Please excuse, you may step out.
He messed up. I mean, he had a good relationship. He had a really good thing, and he doesn't have it anymore.
She kicked us out into the snow, actually, but I didn't have no vehicle, no money, no cell phone.
It wasn't snowing.
Me and my daughter had to ride our bike over a mile to the gas station so I can call somebody to pick us up.
They didn't go out to the street. I mean, he went to his brother's house.
She's just a mean person.
He chose to make out of himself while his daughter was there.
I told her I didn't love her unconditionally, and she just went ballistic.
I don't feel bad about that at all.
She can move on, I can move on, and go on with her lives.
I hope so.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Maffett versus Simmons. Step forward.
Rachel Maffett is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brad Simmons, for unpaid rent and bills while they live together. Brad claims he owes her nothing.
Ah, Bird, I really am so glad I don't use this internet thing. Miss Maffett, you met the defendant on something called MySpace.
Yes.
Which is on the internet where people go to meet each other rather than, meeting each other for a cup of coffee or whatever. You exchange information. And you knew him for a brief period of time, and he moved in.
Yes, he asked to move in.
And it is your claim that while he was there, he paid no rent and bills. He owes you $2,000 for the time that he lived with you. Mr. Simmons says that there was never a financial agreement when he moved in. It was only when he left, unceremoniously, according to Miss Maffett. You left her a note?
No, ma'am.
What did you do?
I packed up all my stuff while she was gone because of the fact that she was a little unstable. I didn't feel comfortable staying there. I packed all my stuff, so I headed out of there, and then I went back to the house and waited for her to come home. And then I told her face to face.
Oh, okay. Well, not as bad as I thought.
Your Honor, I do have a note.
Oh, you do have a note?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the note. When did you get the note?
When I came home and found all of his stuff gone from the house.
The note was only...
Shh. Okay, so you write this letter because you believe she was involved with a couple of other people at the same time she was involved with you. It's a very hurt letter. You say, I can't talk to you right now. You want to communicate with me through MySpace because you're too hurt. You couldn't trust her. Okay, got it. When did you move in, Mr. Simmons?
It was sometime before Christmas. I don't know the exact date.
You remember the date?
I do not. It was probably after 3 or 4 dates, though.
Sometime in mid-December.
Yes, ma'am.
Of 06. And you moved in at her invitation?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you move out?
I moved out, it was the first week of February.
So let's say
It was before Valentine's Day.
Remember when he moved out?
It was before Valentine's Day, but he was over at my house probably 5 days a week after that. He promised that we would get back together, and
so he lived
still
with you
loved me.
maybe 6 weeks.
Right.
That is untrue. I did not go after.
Did anybody live with you before, Miss Maffett?
Not in that apartment, no.
Has anybody lived with you since?
No.
So you weren't looking for somebody to share the bills with?
No, I was not.
So what money do you think he owes you? For the 6 weeks that he was there?
He lived there for probably 8 weeks. And
6 weeks. Keep going.
And he did say that he would pay for half of the bills. He actually asked me if he could live with me. He says that he thinks it may be the L word, and so that he wanted to come live with me because his family was unstable, and he said that his father was beating him.
That is untrue, Your Honor.
Listen to me. He left. You have no downside.
Well, I paid for all of the food. He eats probably enough for 3 people a day.
Yeah.
And he did promise me to pay $2,000 from a bonus that he was going to be getting from his new job. And every time I would go to pay bills, he would say, oh, no, it's okay. You're going to get that other money, so we can do this instead and have fun and eat out and things like that. So I did spend money on things that I normally wouldn't have if I were living alone. I work 2 jobs, and I am trying to finish school, so I'm just barely eking by.
Mr. Simmons says he gave you $500 while he was there.
He gave me $300 when he first moved in, which we promptly used on food and going out to eat.
Was it 3 or 5?
It was 500. I gave her 300 when I moved in, like she said, and then at another point, about 2 days before we broke up, we went out to eat with my uncle at Johnny's Pizza, and I gave her another $200. There was never agreement. I was just trying to...
I believe you that you gave her $500. Do you feel, Mr. Simmons, as if you owe her any money?
No, ma'am.
Was there ever an agreement for you to pay rent there?
No, ma'am. When I moved out, I figured the $500 I gave her, plus I maintained the upkeep of the house, and I cooked. So I feel that's...
You don't get credit for that.
I feel that the money that I gave her at the time that I was there was...
You gave her $500?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your rent, by the way?
My rent is $580 a month.
He's paid you enough, Miss Maffett.
Miss Judge Judy, I actually have an email here stating that he was going to give me the $2,000.
Oh, then I'll see it.
I never sent an email. She did have access to my email password.
No, I did not.
Because it was saved on her computer.
Just a second.
Judge, I also have emails saying that he would lie in court, that he admitted to lying in court. He admitted to cheating on me with men.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Oh, listen, I'm not
that he wasn't working.
I'm not interested in that. It has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing to do with me. The only thing that has to do with me is whether or not you just refuse to put a period and say, made a mistake, shouldn't have invited this guy in to live with me after knowing him for just 4 dates. You have no downside. He gave you $500. He was there for 6 weeks, and I'm not sure that you wrote this thing yourself. Case is dismissed, Miss Maffett. Put a period. It's over. Goodbye.
Matter of Kaiser versus Hunter.
Thank you.
Vice President Sworn in Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Kaiser, according to your complaint, while you were in a relationship with the defendant, you made a loan to him, a couple of $100s.
Yes.
When did you make him this loan and what for?
On January 30th, I received my income tax return here, and he was at my house. He had gotten kicked out of his residential drug facility, and after a week of being at my house, he had the option from his parole officer to either go back to the treatment facility or go into clean and sober living. And so he asked me to borrow the $200.
Well, what's the difference between a drug program and the clean and sober living?
He had more freedom in Pancho Villa than he would in the residential treatment facility.
What were you on parole for?
Residential burglary.
What was the condition of your parole?
That I'd have to stay in either a residential treatment program or sober living home.
So why didn't you stay in the residential drug program?
Because I got kicked out of the residential program. For sneaking out to see her.
And for drinking. Don't let him tell you that. It's for drinking also.
No, Your Honor. That's a lie right there. You can call the program and ask. No, I've never given a dirty test since I've been out of prison.
They don't give urine tests for alcohol?
Yes, they do, ma'am. You can call my parole officer and ask him. I cannot drink or be around alcohol, and they test me for alcohol at the parole office and at the program.
Mike, that's why you were drunk at my house moving me.
Okay, did she give you $200?
Yes, Your Honor. She offered me $200.
Okay, tell me about the $200. You wanted to go into this.
Offered? I have 2 kids.
Listen to me. When I look in your direction, that's when you talk.
All right.
And I'm looking in his direction. Now tell me under what circumstances you say she gave you the $200.
She gave me the $200 knowing that I just got out of prison.
Don't tell me what knowing. I don't want to hear knowing.
Okay,
what did you say to her? What did she say to you? You said to her, I need $200 in order to go into this other program, and I don't have it. Right?
Correct.
Okay. And she said to you?
She said to me that you can borrow the $200, but I would have to help her pay it back. She knew that I did not have a job.
Just don't tell me what she knew. Okay. She said you would help her pay it back. Pay it back to whom?
Pay it back to her.
Now, let's make this simple, Mr. Hunter. She said that you could borrow the money, but that you would have to pay it back.
Most definitely.
Am I looking in your direction? Am I looking in your direction? No. Don't speak unless I look in your direction. She said you could borrow the money.
Correct.
And you would have to pay it back.
Not correct.
That's what you just told me.
I have to pay it back, but not in cash. I was to help her move, watch her kids, pick her kids up at school several times, which I did, take her friend, which is over there at Fairfield, to see a friend of hers that's in the county jail, fix her car, and that pretty much cleared up all the money issue.
When did you help her move?
I forget the exact date that she moved. You remember the exact date?
No, don't ask her any questions.
Okay.
I want to know from her. I'd ask her.
I forget the exact date.
Before or after she gave you the $200?
This was before she moved.
Just a second. Listen to me very carefully, because I know that you have a little trouble understanding, sir. Did you help her move before or after she gave you the $200?
I just answered your question the same way.
That she moved before?
She gave me the money before I helped her move. That's exactly what I said. She gave me the money, and then I helped her move.
When did you go into this new program?
After she moved. I don't have the exact date, Your Honor.
I I know the exact date.
Give me the date.
Here, I cashed my check on my income tax check on 1/30/01. That is the day that he moved into Poncho Villa. I moved on February 2nd. That was not the agreement.
Just a second. What date did he move into the facility?
January 30th.
The same day that you gave him the money?
I took him there.
So you were living in the program on the day she moved?
No, the program that I was at, I didn't have to stay there every day. I can go out, come and go pretty much as I want.
Did he help you move?
Yes, he did help me.
Okay, tell me what he did.
He helped take 2 loads of stuff to my house.
Okay, what else did you do for her?
I put all of her kids' beds together, picked her kids up from school. She actually had put my name down at her kids' school as a person to be able to pick up her kids in emergency.
Okay.
Yeah.
And picked up her kids several times. And also took her friend down to Fairfield. The lady sitting over there took her friend down to Fairfield to the county jail to see her friends.
He's lying.
Okay, what did I tell you?
Okay.
There was a period of time when you lived with the plaintiff, is that right?
Correct.
When was that?
That was in the month of January.
The entire month of January?
No.
I'm going to throw you out. Do you understand?
All right.
Next time, we're not talking about a lot of money. It would be very easy for me to just to say goodbye to you. You got it? Mm-hmm. During the entire month of January?
No, only about a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Let's say 2 weeks. And you slept there?
Correct.
You ate there?
Actually, I had some money of my own. I still have my gate money from when I left school. I went and bought my own food.
How much money?
They gave me $200 gate money.
Even when they threw you out of the program, they gave you
No,
$200?
when they kicked me out of prison.
They didn't kick you out of prison.
I mean, when I got
wanted to
released from
stay?
prison, I'm sorry.
You wanted to stay in prison? Huh?
No.
You wanted to stay in prison?
No.
How much money did you give her towards rent in those 2 weeks?
During those 2 weeks, I helped her clean up around the house because I was buying my own food and buying food for them.
Answer my question, sir. I want the question answered. How much money did you give her towards rent when you were living there?
Nothing.
When you went to pick up her children on those couple of occasions, did you use her car?
Correct.
Did you ever use her car for your own personal business?
No, I did not.
Did he ever use your car for his own personal
Yes, he
business?
did.
Of course he did.
Yes, he did.
Where did he go?
He went to the parole officer.
Of course he did. He had to go in and check in periodically with the parole officer. And how did you get there, sir?
I would take the bus.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Oh, no.
I would hop on BART and take BART and catch the 80
of course
bus
you did.
to Vallejo.
Are you telling me, sir, that you never took her car to go and visit your parole officer?
No, I did not. I got bus vouchers for my parole officer to use.
Really?
Yes.
Very interesting.
She wouldn't allow me to use her car for personal purposes.
Really? That doesn't sound like it was very generous of her.
Well, there's a lot of things that don't sound very generous.
So why didn't you stay there for 2 weeks for?
Well, as she says, the sex was good, pretty much, is why she let me stay there. And it was. I was down 22 months, and I stayed there for the same reason.
Really? So you had it all stored up? Right? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Trinity Kaiser says ex-boyfriend Michael Hunter owes her for an unpaid loan and the return of 2 CDs.
Not.
And also, can I be allowed to say something about her character?
No, I don't want to hear anything about her character.
Well, I believe
character.
it's very important to deal with this case. Something that you can verify by calling my parole officer and find out.
I'll hear you.
Okay. The night that we broke up, she came down and had my old roommate let both of these 2 in. She came in and punched my new girlfriend in the nose, smacked me around 10 times. The only reason I didn't call the police and press charges is because she had threatened to say that I had beat her up, put bruises on her, and file a domestic violence case against me.
Now, this is very interesting. You're supposed to be in a clean and sober program, and you're living with a new girlfriend.
No.
How did that come about?
My new girlfriend was over visiting.
Visiting where?
At the sober living home.
Okay. When? Give me the date.
My parole officer would have the date because I went.
I'm asking you the date.
I told her I don't have
how
the
much
exact date.
How much after she gave you the $200?
This was probably about a month and a half, 2 months.
Well, if she gave you the money, sir, sometime in, let's say, the end of January.
I believe sometime in March.
Well, that's just a few weeks afterwards.
No,
that you had a new
that's about,
girlfriend.
like I said,
4
about a month,
weeks,
a month and a
5
half.
weeks?
About,
Yeah.
I'd say about 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks.
And when did you get the new girlfriend?
I started a job working at Walmart, and I found a woman there that was actually
Nicer to you.
treated me a lot better.
When did you start the job at Walmart?
I started it when I first got there to that program, so it was in February. I started that there.
And so you found somebody else right away?
No, like I said, it was about 5 to 6 weeks that I
You're
actually
a
started
sleazy
talking.
character. Pay her back a $200 judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Excused. You may step out.
When she came down and smacked me around in the face 10 times and hit my girlfriend in the nose, everything right then and there, any chances of me ever paying her back would have been out.
And he thought because he was, having sex with me that was going to cure the problem, and it didn't.
And now the next case.
All parties on Mills versus Trelpa. Step forward, please.
23-year-old customer service rep Jason Mills is suing 38-year-old business owner Karen Trelfa for damage to his snowmobile resulting from a collision. Karen is countersuing for damage to her snowmobile, claiming the accident was Jason's fault.
Mr. Mills, you were on an outing and you were what is it called?
Snowmobiling.
Snowmobiling. And it is your claim that the defendant, who was also snowmobiling, had an accident and plowed into your snowmobile, which was in a stationary position.
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant says that you and your party created a dangerous situation. She's an experienced snowmobiler, and she wants you to pay for the damage to her snowmobile. Right? Correct. Okay. So tell me when this happened.
Well, on February 11th, 2001, we had rented a snowmobile. We were sledding with four total sleds, 6 individuals on the sleds. We had stopped on the far right of the trail, off of the groomed path, under the powder, I saw the defendant and her husband, whose sled was in front of hers, coming at us at a high rate of speed. Within a milliseconds of his passing through his powder, I saw the defendant's sled sliding toward us. She made impact with us. I was thrown from the sled, landed on my neck.
You were sitting on the sled?
I was standing directly next to my sled. I was the only person standing at the time. Everyone else was still sitting on their sleds facing forward. I was thrown up, landed on my neck. Nita was thrown from the sled and landed in a snowbank. The impact was severe enough to throw her boot from her body. If you look where the other sleds were parked, Mrs. Trofa ended up toward the first and second sled. She made impact at the rear of our sled, slid down the trail. Now, immediately after